Srikrupa, we heard from you first. Perhaps you want to lead us off with a few of your key takeaways.
Sure, absolutely. So I think in terms of key takeaways, when you're thinking about securing kind of the newer architectures, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud environments, your SD-WAN branches, edge computing, IoT, and your traditional networks, I think you need to think about security differently and not like be focused on perimeter-based security. You need to think about what parts of the infrastructure is foundational across the board for all of these parts of your network, right? It could be your cloud resources on-prem, your remote users, your branch offices. So think about the foundational security and think about network services like DNS, like I mentioned, and IPAM and DHCP, and think about architecting security from that foundation. So then you have a more integrated approach to security. You can do things like zero trust. You can do things like leveraging MITRE attack frameworks, and looking at some of these cybersecurity frameworks is also a good starting point. But from a technical architecture perspective, always leverage parts of your infrastructure elements that are pervasive and ubiquitous across your network, and that's one of those things is DNS. And the other recommendation I would make, or a key takeaway, is when you're doing threat intel, like I mentioned, make sure that you are aggregating from different sources and working off of the same threat intelligence in all your security enforcement points.
Thank you so much. And Corey, a few key takeaways from yourself before we close out today.
Yes, so we are operating in a time where ransomware is running rapid, where again, nation states are increasingly using their cyber capabilities for espionage, influence operations, in order to achieve their strategic objectives. And we're moving into a time where cloud and third parties are continuing to be increasingly leveraged, increasing our potential attack vectors. So if we seek to define or prevent the threats that we potentially are faced with, we must understand what are our most critical assets, and then prioritize our security controls against these most critical assets. Ensure that we are focusing on the TTPs and adversary behaviors that we can ensure that we can detect in order to prevent an adversary from achieving their objectives. And it cannot be understated the importance of sharing information amongst your peers in order to ensure that you're getting as much of the threat landscape as possible.